And welcome into the Week 6 Sunday Slate Countdown. I'm your host, Ian Power, joined as always by Matt Vitale, sometimes Frankie Santiago. We're going to be breaking down this week's matchups for you guys. But before we dive into the first half of this week's slate, let's show off the beer that we got. I picked this one out. It is a wonderful inebriated alligator on the can. I didn't notice the alligator was inebriated at first when I picked this, and Frankie pointed it out to me. The beer is, what is it? What is this, Frankie? Is it what kind of IPA is it? Oh, it's a regular IPA, okay.
Yeah. It's from Tripping Animals. It's the first time they've distributed in this part of the country, so it's kind of exciting out of Florida. So
It's pretty solid. We also partly got this, Vitale, to test whether you really would rather drink this or that, lime beer that we drank last week. What's the verdict? Are you standing by your take?
I think I might go back to the lime beer. I at least like sour stuff. This is more of the clippings.
Look at how beautiful it looks, though. It's so opaque.
It is very hazy.
Yeah, this is definitely a Floridian
There's
IPA.
a nice bit of lawn clippings in there in every sip.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're distributing this right now. This seems like more of a summer IPA to me.
I mean, it's like over the past couple of years, the New England style IPA has become its own style of beer. It's not just IPAs from New England anymore. They make them for some reason on the West Coast now. It's kind of a misnomer, but
It's because we're taking over. Soon, the entire United States will just be known as New England. Then you can drop the new, and it'll just be England, and
Brexit.
the Queen will have finally won. No, let's do a little bit of news before we get into the slate. Biggest news of the day: Le'Veon Bell. Clearly, the problem with the Jets team. He has been cut, and good riddance, I say. Now Adam Gase is free to unleash his genius upon the world. The talentless dead weight of Le'Veon Bell is off of his team.
I believe the professional term is released. He was not cut.
No, I believe cut works in this case as well.
Apples, oranges,
Potatoes,
colored
tomatoes,
red.
yep.
Yeah. I love this for Le'Veon Bell.
I'm very happy for Le'Veon.
Yeah, especially on top of that, when you look back at the stats that were tweeted out, he had 230 yards or something like that all time through 17 games with Gase.
Yeah.
And his longest rush was 19 yards.
Yep.
Talk about abysmal.
Look at a gazelle out there.
Yeah, taking a Hall of Fame talent and making it look like anybody.
Yeah, Adam Gase is terrible, and I hope more of his good players get cut so they can go flourish somewhere else. I will say that this news, while it makes me happy for Le'Veon Bell, it makes me sad for whatever team he's going to, because Le'Veon Bell is going to ruin some team's running back core in terms of fantasy. I've heard talk that he might go to the Chiefs. He fits their style very well, and I guess there's been some talk out of his camp that he's looking for a good offensive scheme fit and a winner to go to. So
naturally, the Patriots will probably sign him for the veteran minimum.
I haven't heard a lot of talk circling around the Patriots. But I've heard Chiefs, Buccaneers, not Browns, Bears, that other B team. There's a couple names floating around, all of which already have a fantasy relevant running back. So.
What about the Cardinals? Seeing as
I've heard them mentioned more sporadically, but Kenyon Drake is looking bad.
I was going to say we've seen Kenyon Drake struggling, and Chase Edmonds, he's kind of just Chase Edmonds. He's never really been the it guy.
Also, how many yards did you say he had under Gase?
About 200 and I believe 230
Was that total or this year?
total through 17 games.
That means he got paid.
Oh my God.
That means he got paid almost $11 million a yard from the Jets. Oh, that's so dumb. But yeah, so he made about $26 million with the Jets, and he ran for 219 yards, so it's about 11 million or 12 million a yard. No, I'm sorry, other way around.
Way off.
Other way around. Other way around. I can't do math then, but he made He made a lot of money with the Jets. So
I was like, how big was that contract? 200.
Yeah, I had the math backwards, but I don't feel like reverse engineering it now. Let's move on to the next news item here.
It's a good call.
This is actually probably not a good, because this is a sad news item. Melvin Gordon arrested for DUI and going 25 to 39 over the speed limit.
Fire up your Philip Lindsay's when he's healthy.
Yeah. Oh, he is healthy. He's back.
Okay, so fire up your Philip Lindsay's then.
Yeah, Philip Lindsay's practicing this week. Melvin Gordon probably isn't. Vic Fangio's already said that he is unsure on Melvin's availability for Sunday, which is coach talk for the front office is probably going to suspend him, but they haven't told me yet.
Yeah, I at least take that as a semi-positive. If you're a Melvin Gordon owner, you're looking at this and the coach is not saying, yeah, he's probably going to be on the shelf or like.
I mean, I imagine the only reason that he isn't saying that is because Vic Fangio isn't the one who makes that decision.
I assume he's probably going to get slapped with some kind of suspension. I don't remember any other players off the top of my head with DUI suspensions, so.
I mean, it's exacerbated for him though, also because it's not just a DUI. He was also likely, unless Colorado has some very forgiving speeding laws, he was also likely doing reckless. You know, like he was like that's a corner off your license right there, even if you aren't drinking when they pull you over for going 25 to 39.
Yeah, it's
that's fast.
It's not good for him.
Yeah, I would be shocked if there wasn't some
there's
some bad news coming down out of Broncos. I don't think the NFL is going to react because we've seen them react in the past. They're typically very slow and they wait for the courts to suss it out before they do anything. But wouldn't be shocked if Melvin misses a game or four because the team slaps him for bad behavior and they do have Philip Lindsay behind him.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's at least probably more than likely going to miss this game. So if you have Melvin Gordon on your team, you should probably address that issue sooner rather than later.
Yes, I would move forward with the assumption that he's at least missing this week. AJ Green, limited in practice, doesn't really say anything for his availability, as the coaching staff has already said that they're unsure when they're going to have him back. So, those two things kind of conflict a little bit. I'd watch practice this week if you're planning on starting AJ Green, but you probably weren't anyway. Big Ben, Juju, and Deontay all DNP today, as is tradition.
On the plus side,
they never practice on Wednesdays.
On the plus side, no Thursday games this week. So, if you don't have to worry about that short week with your players, and
that was just Chiefs and Bills anyway. So,
to be fair, now I'm kind of looking back at it, and usually this is something you look at when players, when the season's wrapped up, and you're kind of trying to figure out why a player's looking sluggish and not performing. Maybe Juju is actually dealing with an injury that's kind of, hampering him, so that's why he's not practicing on Wednesdays. He is still young. It's not like he needs fresh, Big Ben makes sense.
I still don't give him the excuse because Deontay's also had a lingering either foot or toe issue that he's been taking Wednesday off for every week. And when Deontay's been on the field, because he keeps getting injuries that are unrelated to his Wednesday absences, he's been fantastic when he's been on the field. So...
Yeah, but like I said, different injuries, different results. Like I said, we saw it with Odell. That was the big thing last year. He was kind of dealing through some injury that wasn't really disclosed, but he was just missing time. So it's something to monitor. I think if he starts logging full practices, he goes up a tick, just a small tick in my book, and I expect better things. But while he keeps missing practices, I'm assuming that's the team. We need him out there. We need him to be at least out there and be Juju Smith-Schuster to draw that top coverage. But I could see a world where we're not surprised when the season ends. He's like, yeah, basically banged up ribs all season or something like that.
Sure. Kyle Allen back at practice. Full practice today, expected to start this weekend. So Alex Smith back to the bench, probably good for him. Get some more football reps under his legs. DJ Chark DNP today with an ankle. I think we all expected that when he got knocked out of Sunday's game late with that injury. I still expect him to play this weekend because from the reports after the game, it sounded like he only didn't come back in because the game was basically over anyway. But definitely watch the practice reports on that one, see how that progresses. Godwin and Fournette back at practice today, both expected to play this weekend. And as Frankie said, there is no Thursday game tomorrow. So we all get to get our players on a nice long week or nice normal length week of rest.
No Thursday sports.
Except for the Bills, who did play on Tuesday and therefore are in a short week still.
No Thursday sports is kind of sad for me, but
Yeah, but it's sad. But the Thursday, I mean, but this is gonna be a good Thursday game. So
yeah.
I wish we could have had the Thursday game canceled when it was Broncos Jets.
Yeah.
Why can we not have nice things? They're taking the good matchups from us now, and like they're saying like, do you want to watch the Browns play themselves? Like, no, not really.
All right. We all know we hate the Broncos and Jets. Let's dive into the slate.
Yeah. Let's dive into this one. We're going to be breaking down the first 6 games of Sunday for you all. Let's start off with what should be an absolutely terrible game. 47.5 point total. Baltimore Ravens, Philadelphia Eagles. The Ravens are 7.5 point favorites, which I believe, as they say in the industry, is not giving the Eagles a snowball's chance in hell.
We've seen worse, but I think I'm more surprised. I figured it'd be a little bit higher with how banged up the Eagles are, and the Ravens are still the Ravens. I figured this might creep up to a 10, but maybe that's just because betting has to keep coming through, and I could see people hammering that, the points for the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm taking the points. I'm taking the over, and I'm taking the Ravens.
I don't know about the over on this one.
I think Philly's going to score at least 2 touchdowns.
I mean, keep in mind, you say that you expect it to be about 10. I just had to double check. The Eagles are at home at this one, so effectively, the Ravens are 10-point favorites because the Eagles are getting the gimme 3 that Vegas gives you at home.
Yeah, it's a soft 10, I guess.
Yeah.
But I still figure this one would get up to 10 because
that would have been nutty. 13.5 point favorite. They're just like, yeah, the Eagles might as well not show up. Oh, that'd be so bad. This is a tough one for who you're starting and sitting. I mean, aside from Miles Sanders, can you start any Eagles in this matchup?
I don't want to.
Let's assume that you aren't dealing with, because if you're dealing with injuries or bye weeks, your situation changes. Assume that you don't have to play, Fulgham or Greg Ward or Carson Wentz or someone like that. Are there any Eagles that you guys are willingly starting?
Yeah, as someone who has Ward on his team, I'm not even thinking about flexing him.
This Ravens defense is nasty.
Yeah, they're very scary. They're almost as scary as Pittsburgh. But yeah, no, I'm not even thinking about starting any of their wide receivers because they have 2 at this point. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's not looking great. I mean, Miles Sanders. If you have him, you have to start him.
What about Ertz? You starting Ertz this week? He's really bad, like really bad.
Carson's looked better than he has in the beginning of the season.
Yes and no. I saw a tweet today. I wish I had favored it. I forget who it was from, but it basically was detailing the difference between Carson Wentz targeting Fulgham. Or is it Fulgham or Fulgham? I don't know.
We still don't know. It's been like 2 days.
Targeting him versus targeting everyone else on the Eagles. He has I believe it was a perfect passer rating targeting this guy, and like a 58.7 targeting everyone else. So might be a little deceptive just because he's been using this guy more over the past. I don't know if he's good enough to continue that trend against the Ravens though. He is sort of like a nobody that kind of appeared because the Eagles are just summoning receivers out of the stands now.
Yeah, I'm avoiding this matchup at any chance I get. As far as going back to Miles Sanders, heavily temper your expectations.
Same as last week.
Yeah, it's another rough one for him. He's kind of had some rough sledding here, where it's San Fran, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. The sunnier days are coming. Just weather the storm if you can, and try and build something around. Plan to get bare minimum out of him. He might rip one off like he did against the Steelers, but
yep.
That's just football right there.
Good news though, actually, you reminded me with Miles Sanders. Doug Peterson actually did get asked about Lev Bell. The Eagles are not interested in Lev Bell. Peterson is happy with what he has in Miles Sanders as a 3-down back. So of all of the backfields out there that might have had a threat of Lev Bell, Miles Sanders managers can relax a little bit on this one.
Yeah, he was one I was worried about just because it seems like the Eagles had always sniffed at every the notable running back, and I was like, this one might be the one. They might just be like, yeah, we love Shady.
They don't want to bring in Carlos Hyde or Devonta Freeman, but Le'Veon Bell's maybe a little bit better than those guys. Bears Panthers next game on the slate. Much tighter spread on this one. It's a 45-point total. Panthers are only 1.5 favorites against the Bears. I'm pretty interested in this game, honestly. I think that these are two surprisingly good teams. Teddy Bridgewater is looking like Teddy Bridgewater before he had that almost career-ending injury back in Minnesota. He's slinging the ball pretty well. Robbie Anderson looks like a legitimate wide receiver one out there. He's getting the targets and running the routes that ones should get. I mean, I think we have a big enough sample size at this point where I feel comfortable, honestly, putting Robbie above DJ Moore for my rest of season rankings.
Yeah, he's
Mike Davis should be in a good spot this week. So I think I assume you guys are in the same boat I am, where you're starting the obvious Panthers. You're probably starting DJ Moore if you have him. I'm more interested in you guys' takes on the Bears for this one.
Yeah, just to quickly touch on the Panthers.
Sure.
I mean, I like seeing at least DJ was able to pop in that last game, show you something.
It was all basically one play, though.
It was.
I won't take that away from him.
I want to see more of it. Like I said, I think you have to, just from an emotionless, just tactful, pragmatic standpoint, you have to put Robbie because Robbie's been getting the work. So, but I could see a path where we go back to the norm, I guess.
Sure. I mean, it definitely seems like it's not always a bad thing either if Robbie happens to be the one. I mean, Teddy's slinging the ball well enough that he could hypothetically support two wide receivers in this offense. So, DJ Moore's ceiling definitely comes down if he's not the one getting 13 targets a game, but he could still carve out a role in that offense. Curtis Samuel's the big loser here. But what about the Bears side of the ball? Who aside from David Montgomery are you guys looking at in this game?
I'm fine rolling out Allen Robinson.
Sure.
We talked about that target tree going down, but I mean, he had 16 targets last game.
Yeah, I mean,
10 the game before, 13 the game before that.
The guy's a target monster.
It's just the game plan. I think that's just it's both the players, his play style, but the Bears offense is just clearly how they find that's how they want to run it. They don't want to spread the ball out. They want to have a very truncated target tree, and it's just feeding their best guy. Which I mean, the Cardinals are doing that right now to better success and more production. But I mean, that's to be expected when you have Kyler and Hopkins.
I was gonna say, Kyler is marginally better than either of the Chicago quarterbacks, and DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver in football. So, they're gonna make sweet, sweet music together. What about Jimmy Graham? Are you guys spot starting him if you need a tight end this week? I mean, he's been getting 10-5-5 the last 2 weeks for targets.
He does get a lot of red zone targets too.
Yeah, he's been getting a consistent 5+ targets a week. He's coming down with the ball. He's finding the end zone.
Yeah, I think if you're in a position where you may have a Fant where he's injured, or you may just have somebody who's
Waller who's on a bye.
Yeah, or someone who's just not performing. You didn't get one of those premier tight ends. I see this as, a good option to start here. I mean, Jimmy Graham's he's looked good. He's getting those red zone targets, which is really what you want in the tight end. You want that guy who has that touchdown potential, not necessarily a Travis Kelce who's just going to be your every down tight end.
Not the greatest matchup though. Carolina 5th against tight ends per DraftKings.
Yeah, for this one, it's low scoring. It's a Bears tight end, so it's not a very pass. Like I said, we already know the target tree is truncated. He is getting looks.
I would say he's the 2 on that target tree, honestly.
Yeah, it's just they are not a productive offense, and when I'm taking a dart throw at tight end, I'd rather tie it to a tight end, an offense that's going to get to the red zone more.
Sure.
If they only get 2 or 3 trips down there, Allen Robinson's going to see his share. If they get too close, then they're just going to punch it in with a running back. Just for me, there's just not enough opportunity for those targets to pay off.
He actually is the 2 on that target tree. I just looked up the stat.
Yeah,
he is the second most targets on the team currently.
I mean, if you're rolling the dice on a touchdown, that's fine. I think that his ceiling is even lower than what it usually is this game because if he doesn't get a touchdown, he might finish the week with 4 points. But
I mean, honestly, Carolina without CMC has been performing really well. I mean,
Carolina's a good team. They have a lot of good players on that team. Let's jump to the next matchup on the slate here. A AFC North special. Browns Steelers 51-point over under. The Steelers are only 3-point favorites.
I feel like this one's gonna be a grinder.
I actually don't. I mean, the Browns have been really firing on all cylinders lately.
Yeah, but they haven't been playing Pittsburgh.
They haven't, but I think the Browns have a good head of steam right now. The offense has been looking good. I could see this one maybe not hitting the total, but at least getting close to it, where there's enough offense in the game that they sniff around 45, 47.
I think I float more towards the over on this one, mainly because it's Pittsburgh at home and they are rested.
Yeah.
Big Ben, we all know Big Ben at home is is godsend basically. He's a completely different quarterback.
Yeah.
So I'll take him against the Browns, who I'm not scared of the defense. They have been gelling as an offense in a quirky kind of way because you figure they dropped all those points just 2 weeks ago, and Baker Mayfield still only came out with like 200 yards and a touchdown, 2 touchdowns. Like, not a great day for fantasy, but the offense as a whole, like Odell Beckham just being like the focal point of getting everything there. I think the Browns should be able to squeak their way to like 21, 25 maybe,
sure.
just to be able to get that over to be attainable.
Yeah, I was going to say, the over isn't, I mean, if you're splitting that just right down the middle, it's 25.5. It's...
Yeah, we know the Steelers can essentially score at will. I mean, we watched them do it last week.
I was going to say, Kyler, or Claypool.
Steelers have Kyler now?
No, I mean, Claypool covered that by himself last week.
I'm interested in Claypool this week against the Steelers, or against the Browns.
Wait, the Browns have Claypool now?
I think that Claypool could be a pretty... He's not going to do what he did last week unless he is literally a transcendent talent and he's here to, he's the second coming of Jerry Rice or something. But barring that, he's not going to do what he did last week. But I think he could turn in, especially if Deontay misses this week, he could turn in another really nice performance for fantasy managers because it seems like the Steelers want to use this kid. He's a big kid. He's like Martavis Bryant or Mike Wallace, like the ghost of them returned to football.
Yeah,
he's big, he's fast, he's good at contested catches. We know Big Ben likes to fire it down the field. Like, he's one of those only needs one play guys, but the Steelers are going to dial up, 4 or 5 shots a game for him because that's what they do.
Yeah, if Deontay misses this week, I mean, he's almost a must start in.
He's honestly probably inside my top 20 wide receivers this week. If Deontay misses, and I would still roll him out there as a wide receiver 3 or a flex start in a sticky situation, even if Deontay's on the field, because I could see this guy over. I think there's a chance that this guy overtakes Juju with how Juju's been playing, and maybe not completely takes his spot, but we start seeing a bit more of a split target tree where it's Deontay and then Claypool and Juju.
Yeah, I think if like I was about to say, I think that wide receiver 3 flex and redraft, but I think in I'm actually trying to see what his price is right now. But no,
for Claypool,
yeah,
it's probably a high.
Yeah, for me,
5,200. I mean,
that's more than I want to pay for in DraftKings, unless if Deontay is missing, I'll pay for that.
If Deontay is missing, I think that you have to look at what the Browns have done against teams that have terrible defenses, a la my Cowboys. It's kind of a no-brainer at that point. If Deontay's out, you start Claypool. It's
sure
5,200. I think he's gonna get. If Deontay's out, he's gonna hit value.
Falcons Vikings 54.5 point over under. Vikings are 4-point favorites in this one. I will say I haven't heard anything about it since I saw this, but I did hear that a Falcons defensive player tested positive for COVID, I believe. So keep your eye on this one as the week goes on. I haven't heard anything else yet.
Please no.
But yeah, this one should be a fantasy bonanza. So
please God no.
I mean, 54.5 points. This is. It's another one of these just massive totals we've been seeing this season. Seems like a few every week, and they're always circling the Falcons.
I need Calvin Ridley this week.
Yeah, this is a game I'm very interested in both watching it and just for fantasy aspects.
It should be fun.
Like this should be an easy one to stack for daily to have because you got guys on both sides to run it back for you. The one thing I am worried about when I saw members of this on Twitter, there were talks of people of them resting Dalvin for this game. They've already said no, but just because they're not resting him doesn't mean they might limit him because they have the bye week coming up and they want to get him fresh. So I would not be too surprised with how good Alexander Mattison has looked. If he's a little banged up, we might see something like 12, 13 carries for Dalvin in this game. Which
I don't expect Dalvin to play this week.
Alexander Mattison.
I think what they're doing. I think the Vikings are on that same train of thought that you are. Like they know it's just a smokescreen. Like, ooh, are we gonna play Dalvin? It's like they don't need Dalvin. Got a little banged up last week. They don't need Dalvin to beat the Falcons. Alexander Mattison is a very good running back in his own right. They spent high draft capital on him. That was 2 years ago. I would not be shocked if they just gave Dalvin 2 weeks. Said, hey, you know what? Just get your body right. Sit down. We got this. And they just let Alexander Mattison run buck wild over this team because, honestly, like I don't care who. Like Mattison is a top 12 running back for me this week if he enters this game as the starter, and Dalvin's a top 5 if it's Dalvin. But it's like either way, the running back should be phenomenal in this matchup.
Yeah, the DraftKings agrees because Dalvin is listed at 8,000. Madison is 7,200.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just hate this because it reeks to me of the
will they won't they?
Yeah, will they won't they with DJ Moore? Not DJ Moore. Sorry, David Johnson last year.
Yeah,
when they were like, oh yeah, he's good to go, and they didn't report him as out, and then they played the game like, yeah, he'll get 2 snaps and he's out.
That's tough. That if you're a Dalvin manager, you're really hoping that you get some clarity prior to kickoff because you can't sit Dalvin in this matchup. But you're going to feel like the world's biggest idiot if you start Dalvin after he got banged up last week and they run him out there, they give him like 1 carry and they're like, all right, Dalvin, go golfing. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
The other thing is they might be ready to do something like I was saying where they're going to, like, all right, you're getting 12 carries and you're off the field. And he can he can get you what you need to win a week with 12 carries.
Yeah, he's on a snap count.
Yeah,
he's on a pitch count.
Yeah, he's on a pitch count. But here's the thing. He could come out maybe second carry and just take a good pop to the leg. And the coach is just like, nope, that's it. You're off. Like, they were planning to give him looks, but just an ugly hit that didn't actually hurt him just scared the coach enough to be like, sit.
Zimmer hearing footsteps.
Yeah. Like, but I do like to see that Matt Nagy's coaching style is starting to rub off on other people. It's like, whoa, who's the starter? You don't gotta know. Except he's doing with a running back where it's a lot less impactful. It's like,
I'm at least glad that the Vikings aren't trying to also mix in Mike Boone and just be like, we have 3! Like, at least it's just Alexander Mattison that's the threat to Dalvin right now. And we know that once Dalvin's fully healthy, so after the bye, Alexander Mattison is going to resume his rightful place on the bench. Falcons side of the ball, obviously you're starting Calvin Ridley.
I don't want to start Matt Ryan, but
he's looked, without Julio, he's looked really, really bad.
I mean, he looked bad last game.
Yeah. I think there's a world in which Todd Gurley and Calvin Ridley both have great fantasy days, and Matt Ryan doesn't.
Yeah, he hasn't looked great lately.
Somehow, Matt Ryan's fantasy production is not tied to the value of his players. Matt Ryan is proving the age-old adage wrong that if your players are doing well, the quarterback is also doing well. Matt Ryan's like, oh, am I? Somehow, I'm going to throw touchdowns to Calvin Ridley while getting 0 credit for them.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, his value and whether I start him or not is tied to Julio Jones. If Julio's going, I'm in, just because this should be a shootout. If Julio does not go, I just think that means that the Falcons are for sure going to lose, and I want no part of Matt.
To be fair, watching that... Actually, no, I agree. Watching that Seahawks game, I mean, we saw a much more competent quarterback in Russ look objectively bad. And for the Falcons, who have not looked objectively good, it's not a great sign.
I mean, honestly, we've been saying it all season that we expect this Vikings defense to get better. We could have saw it last week. Mm-hmm. You know, it takes a little bit of time for new players to gel, especially when there's no offseason. Last week could have been the beginning of the end of the Vikings being easy fantasy points. Like,
I mean, yeah, like I said, they did just trade for Ngakoue. Like I said, I'll say it again. If our listeners haven't heard me say it, they do have 2 of the top 5 pass rushers in the league. Like, it's Aaron Donald, this guy, and I believe Ngakoue is like 4. Like, it should be a scary front line, and they might just start be putting it together. Maybe you go stash them. No one, I guarantee they're out there, especially against the Falcons. Maybe just go pick them up in case they turn into a lead.
Yeah,
if you got the bench space.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I have a better option, if I can get a Fitzpatrick or a Tannehill or a Goff, I'm starting one of them over Matt Ryan this week. Just not because I think this game could still be a high total. I just don't trust Matt. After 2 bad weeks in a row for Matt Ryan, I don't trust Matt Ryan enough. 3 now.
Yeah, he scored 11, 10, and 4 last week.
That's right. I thought it was only 2.
Yeah, as someone who owns Matt Ryan and happens to own Kirk because he was streaming him last week, I'm starting Kirk in this one.
I still wouldn't, but...
Yeah, another one just to bring up. I mean, granted, he's over what we typically set as that 50% mark, but Matt Stafford was one of the most dropped quarterbacks because he had his bye. So
I do love me some
68%, and he's got a good matchup coming up.
The true Matty Ice. I mean, he's the much more fratty of the 2 quarterbacks. Have you seen it? He used to have the flow and everything, you know?
Yeah, he should definitely bring that
back. Does he not still have the flow?
I don't believe he does anymore.
But yeah, he gets Jacksonville this upcoming week, and I think he's going to feast.
They've been a recipe for fantasy points, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of it for me. I mean, I'm starting Calvin Ridley. I'm starting Todd Gurley. I'm probably starting Hayden Hurst just because the targets have been there. Eventually, he's got to gel with that offense if he keeps getting 6-7 targets a game, and the tight end landscape isn't great anyway. So I'll take the targets. But I mean, I'm probably not starting anyone outside of those 3 on Atlanta.
Yeah, I think with obviously Dan Quinn's gone now. I think the play calling on that team has to just change, and
we'll see.
They invested in Hurst. He has to get more targets.
He's been getting 6 or 7 a game. Like, that's good.
It's not great.
It's the targets aren't the issue. It's the quality of the targets. For the final matchup that we are going over today, we're going back to another sad total, 43 points. Washington football team, New York Giants, in competition for the worst matchup of the season. The Giants are somehow favorites in this game by 2.5 points. I'm surprised they aren't both underdogs. Like,
I will say, just as a sidebar to that whole worst matchup of the season, Broncos-Jets is definitely going to take it.
But this is in contention at least.
But you got to watch the Ripmeister, man.
This is ugly. Like, the Giants have looked terrible. Daniel Jones has shown that you, in fact, can fumble at the same rate that you did last. Like, he's
looking more like Danny Nichols out there.
Yeah, he's got butter all over his hands. He's real bad at holding onto the ball. He's been turning it over like a pro. Against bad defenses, too, some of the time. I mean, I don't know. Like, the Washington football team doesn't have the worst defense in the world. I could see them getting after Danny and forcing some issues.
I mean, we being Dallas, we got to turn over for a touchdown last week.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, Chase Young, he's looked good this year. That defensive line has looked pretty good. It's just the rest of it that's kind of suspect. I could see them doing well, and even though they are technically not favored and they are the underdogs in this one, I am much more interested in Washington's side of the ball.
Yeah, 100%.
Five,
even a question.
I just pulled it up because I couldn't remember the exact numbers. 5 picks and 4 fumbles through 5 games
this year
for Danny Dimes. Yeah, 5 picks,
4
fumbles. He's lost 3 of them.
He already has 4?
Yeah. Remember when you were telling me in the offseason how he was definitely there's no way he fumbles 14 times again?
18, but still.
Whatever.
How do you fuck that up?
Double-digit times again? He's on pace for more right now. He's trying to beat his fumble record.
I think he's just trying to set a record in the way Nathan Peterman set one, where he had a game so bad. He played so bad.
God, Peterman, that's a throwback.
Yeah, he had a game so bad. He threw for 100 yards and 2 interceptions, and his career QBR went up.
Yeah, I don't think your QBR goes down. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't believe your QBR goes down for fumbles. So he's turning it over in the wrong way there. But yeah, I'm on the Washington side of the ball here. The Giants don't scare me. They do have, I forget his name. They do have a lockdown corner, so this could be a bit of a quiet week for Terry. But Antonio Gibson shouldn't have any issues with this team.
Well, the corner's probably not going to be on Terry. Terry plays out of slot.
I mean, who else do they have to put him on?
You know, you make a very good point.
They're like, you know what? Yeah. Washington doesn't have anyone good that plays the X receiver in this matchup. So why don't you just take a seat this week? It's fine.
So I think I'm more interested if you're somebody who's getting hit by bye weeks and injuries. You might be looking at the Giants receiver core as their
Darius
solid
Slayton,
players.
sure.
I was gonna say, like, who are you comfortable starting?
Darius Slayton, sure.
Anything you just Slayton done or?
I mean, Slayton kind of did me in last week, so I mean, I kind of have to.
I mean, Darius Slayton's another one. Like, if you're targeting upside, Darius Slayton is the upside guy on that team. He's the one who all he needs is one broken play and a ball to fall his way, and he's running it in for a 60-yard touchdown, and he's made his fantasy points for the week. Everyone else seems to need a lot of quality volume, and quality anything has been a problem coming from Danny so far this year. So I'm probably starting Devonta Freeman also if I really need a running back, because there's so few of them. But like, I don't feel good about it. But he looks a little better. He doesn't look completely washed. He looks like he's a.
What game are you watching?
I mean, you have to give him a few points for how bad that Giants line is. Like, he gets hit in the backfield a lot.
Yeah, back to Slayton though. I mean, no, Slayton looked good over there. I mean, he does. I don't think he's more of that one play guy. I mean, I think he's definitely changing as the season goes on. I mean, we looked he was 8 for 129 last week. I think that he's finding his home, for lack of a better term, in that Giants receiving core. And they're kind of in the same position as Philly, where everybody's injured or.
He's going to have bad games. He's probably going to have more bad games than good games.
Yeah.
But the good games are going to be really good games. He's like Deshaun Jackson of years past.
Yeah, I think
Mike Wallace.
I mean,
I think he's slowly turning into a volume play, though.
No.
I mean, I wouldn't put him in the Deshaun Jackson, because usually Deshaun Jackson ends his day with like 3 catches, 4 catches. Slayton's he's like a...
Sure, but also keep in mind, Sterling Shepard's coming back soon. And once Sterling Shepard comes back, a lot of that volume is going to go away from him. He is going to go back to being that like 3 to 5 target guy. And there are just going to be some weeks where he gets 3 to 5 targets and 2 of them end up in the end zone.
He is definitely boom or bust. I think he's basically just turning into like the model for an elite receiver, but like light version. Like, usually this is what you want to see out of like your OBJs, your Julios, where it's just like they can take you downfield and beat you big.
Yeah.
They can, they're getting 8 catches a game, 10 catches a game. They've got the yardage, but he doesn't have the offense there, and he's not quite that guy yet. So he's the like light version.
Sure. All right. Well, that'll do it for the first 6 games of this slate. You guys ready to do a little bit of a beer check? Frank, I see you doing a little bonus sipping over there.
You always got a bonus sip a little bit.
What do you got?
I believe this is 1 1/3.
I mean, I don't know what this is. I don't know.
Is it 1 or 2?
No, this is on 2.
Well, I'm on 1 right there. I'm an easy sipping this boy.
I mean, I don't really have anything if you want to take the phone.
Oh, sure, by all means.
Yeah.
I want to talk today about the importance. I've had some discussions with league mates in various leagues today. I want to talk about the importance of...
Is this about trading?
Not giving up. It's the time of the season where the weak start throwing in the towel. They are mentally weak. They are incapable. and they can't keep up with the bump and grind of the season. They fall through the cracks. They just can't hold it all together. They see 2-3, 1-4, 0-5 on the board next to their team name, and it just all falls apart. Like the Daniel, not Daniel Jones, that Red Sox pitcher that we had that got absolutely shell-shocked one day. No, not Price. He was a relief pitcher. I forget his name. Daniel something. But
could just say Matt Ryan.
He
fine.
Absolutely shell-shocked. We never saw him again. That's a handful of fantasy managers this time of year where it's just like you see that 1-4, 0-5 next to your team name, and you just crumble into a heap of rubble. Don't do it. Like, what the hell? It's a 13-game season, and you only need like 6 or 7 wins to make the playoffs.
6, but
yeah, like that's on average. If you can get 6 wins, you're gonna be the 6th seed. Like, we're 5 games in. There's still 8 games to go. You don't need that. Like, yes, it's tougher now. It's easier if you go 4-1 as opposed to 1-4. But like, if you're just throwing in the towel now, one, it ruins the competitive integrity of your league because now other people are getting free wins. 2, you're gonna look like a bozo at the end of the year when you have the worst record in league history.
And when you're in a suit.
That's only our league. Like, get to trading. Get creative. Throw some weird shit together. Just start throwing trades at the wall. See what sticks. Make your team better. There's so many ways that you can go about it. If your league allows you to trade Fab, throw Fab into deals. But sometimes that'll sweeten the pot. I already completed 1 trade this year where I gave up 50 Fab. I don't care. Got the trade done. Got me Deontay Johnson. Like, get creative. Stick with it. There's so much football left to be played, and there are so many, especially this year, there's so many injuries happening, and people are hitting bye weeks now, where you can just absolutely T-bone someone if they get like 3 players on a bye, and you're like, well, I suck, but I don't know if anyone on a bye, so here comes win number 2. Like, you string a couple of those together, all of a sudden you're not the bottom of the league anymore. Like, it grinds my gears when people get down in the doldrums of the league and they just drop. Like, why? Why are you even playing the game? Get back in it. Get back on your fucking horse. Don't give up. Because as Frankie can even attest, Frankie was 2-4 at this time last year, and Frankie battled back to make it to the semifinals of the playoffs.
I won out. 6-6, Rashard Penny.
There's always someone in your league looking to make a deal. Find who's looking to make a deal, trade for some win now players, and see what happens.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Sell that hope. Like, Juju's a great guy for that right now. Someone like me who still has the stars in my eyes might.
I mean, like, I'm 1-4 right now. I drafted Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler back to back. They're both obviously no longer with us.
Well, it seems he's coming back.
Oh, I mean, I said, yeah. Like, Eckler's coming back. Like, I told you guys before the show, I'm shopping Eckler now. Like, I'm trying. Like, I don't want to give Eckler up. Eckler's coming back. Eckler's coming back in like week 9 or 10. But like, I don't know if I can wait till week 9 or 10. So I'm trying to send Eckler to someone else so that I can get things to help me win now. Like, it doesn't matter if you've been blindsided by injuries. You might have been a Saquon owner, or a CMC owner, or a Chubb owner, or an Eckler owner, or a Julio, or Godwin, or Kittle, or any number of high-profile fantasy players who got shafted this season. Find ways to make it work. If you give up, you're a loser.
More importantly, this year's weird. So
no, I want my final. I want my final stance to be: if you give up, you're a loser.
Oh no! I was gonna say that if like this year's weird, anything can happen. Make trades.
That's all I got. See you guys tomorrow when Jeffrey Gagnon joins us again for the second half of the countdown, and I hope you guys. For everyone whose waivers cleared on the abnormal time this week, as ours are. Hope you got all the players you're looking for.
Finger guns.